The stars glimmered like icy tears across the void of Omega Rift. Lieutenant Colonel Nathan Locke pressed his forehead against the observation deck's transparent aluminum, his breath creating a small cloud of condensation that quickly dissipated. His weathered face, lined with the marks of 50 hard years, reflected back at him from the glass. Behind him, the small salvage vessel, Grit and Ashes, hummed with the quiet efficiency of a crew accustomed to the dangerous work of relic hunting. Another dead-end job, he muttered to himself, watching the jagged debris field ahead. The sector was nothing special, just another forgotten corner of space where the remnants of old conflicts drifted in eternal silence. For most salvage crews, it was a place to harvest scrap metal from derelict ships. For Nathan, it was something more. "Colonel, we're picking up the signal again." Major Arya Saren's voice crackled through the comm. The young science officer's excitement was barely contained. "It's definitely Terran in origin. Pre-unification encoding." Nathan straightened his back, feeling the old familiar tension return to his shoulders. "How strong?" "Stronger than before. Whatever it is, it's buried under 2 kilometers of ice on Erebus 9. Erebus 9. The name itself sounded like a tomb. A frozen, desolate world at the edge of the Omega Rift, where nothing had lived for centuries. Nothing except, perhaps, secrets. "Any word from Obsidian Dawn?" Nathan asked, referring to the other Terran salvage team that had ventured into this sector 3 weeks earlier. Arya's pause spoke volumes. "Nothing since their last transmission. Just that fragment. It's the Supercarrier. It's waking up." Then silence. Captain Milo Briggs, the crew's chief engineer, joined them on the observation deck. The burly man's face was perpetually smeared with engine grease, his hands calloused from years of working with machinery that most people had forgotten how to repair. "You don't seriously believe that old legend, do you?" Briggs asked, though his voice held more hope than skepticism. "The Sentinel Supercarrier? That's a bedtime story parents tell their kids about the glory days before the Great Exodus." Nathan stared out at the stars. 50 years had passed since the Galactic Council had forced humanity to retreat to the frontier worlds. 50 years since the human uprising had failed. 50 years of being marked as a potential threat to galactic stability. Banned from the central systems, their technology confiscated, their history rewritten. "The Galactic Council is already sending ships to cordon off Erebus 9, Nathan said quietly. "They're calling it a threat hotspot. Something has them spooked." Briggs crossed his arms. "Then we'd better get there first." Nathan nodded, feeling that familiar pull of Terran blood, that inexplicable urge to reclaim what was lost. If the legends were true, if the Sentinel Supercarrier was real and not just a myth, it could change everything for humanity. "Set course for Erebus 9, he ordered, "and let's hope we're not too late." As the small salvage vessel adjusted its trajectory, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading towards something that would either resurrect humanity from its long exile or bury them all even deeper. The journey to Erebus 9 took them through the Black Zone debris field, a dangerous stretch of space littered with ghost ships, toxic space gases, and the remnants of pre-unification technology. Navigating it required skill and courage, both of which were in short supply in the frontier worlds. Arya spent the journey analyzing the signal they had detected. "I've managed to decode more of it," she reported, her dark eyes gleaming with excitement. "It contains the words Sentinel class, human. Directive 77. Whatever Directive 77 is, it was important enough to be included in an emergency beacon." Briggs, who had served with Nathan before their sector was cut off from the central systems, looked troubled. "If it really is a Sentinel-class vessel, we're talking about technology that predates the Galactic Union. The kind of firepower that could, well, that could change the balance of power." "Or restore it," Nathan replied quietly. As they approached Erebus 9, their sensors detected multiple ships converging on the ice planet. They weren't alone in their quest. Several other salvage teams, including mercenaries from Shalon and the Eru Heliosphere soldiers, were closing in. And in the distance, the unmistakable silhouette of a Galactic Council enforcement vessel loomed. "They're moving fast," Briggs observed. "Someone must have leaked information about the signal." Before Nathan could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A massive galactic ice storm was forming directly in their path, a swirling vortex of frozen particles and energy that could tear their small vessel apart. "We can't go around it," Arya shouted over the klaxons. "We'll lose too much time." Nathan gripped the command console. "Then we go through it. Briggs, divert all power to the shields." The ship plunged into the storm, buffeted by ice crystals the size of small asteroids. The radar systems went dark, blinded by the electromagnetic interference. For nearly an hour, they flew blind, guided only by Nathan's instincts and Briggs' masterful handling of the engines. When they finally emerged, Erebus 9 loomed before them, like a massive pearl against the blackness of space. Its surface was an unbroken expanse of ice, gleaming under the distant light of a dying star. "Sensors are back online," Arya reported. "I'm detecting multiple ships already in orbit. And... wait." She frowned at her console. "There's a massive metal structure 2 kilometers beneath the surface. It's huge. Colonel. Bigger than anything I've ever seen." Nathan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ice planet below. "Take us down. Find us a landing spot near the signal's origin." They descended through Erebus 9's thin atmosphere, the ship's exterior quickly accumulating a layer of frost. Below them, the vast ice field stretched to the horizon, unbroken except for a few dark fissures that cut through the surface like ancient wounds. As they approached the coordinates of the signal, they saw evidence that others had already begun excavation. Several ships were anchored to the ice, their mining equipment cutting deep shafts into the frozen surface. "We're too late," Briggs muttered. "No," Nathan replied, pointing to a spot several kilometers from the main excavation site. "The signal's coming from there. They're digging in the wrong place." They landed on the ice, the ship's landing struts crunching through the frozen surface. Outside, the temperature was nearly 100 degrees below zero, cold enough to freeze exposed skin in seconds. Nathan, Arya, and Briggs donned pressure suits equipped with thermal regulators, preparing to venture onto the surface. As they checked their equipment, Nathan laid out the plan. "We move quickly and quietly. If we encounter anyone else, we avoid confrontation. Our goal is to locate the source of that signal and determine if it's really what we think it is." Briggs checked the charge on his plasma cutter. "And if it is?" Nathan's expression was grim. "Then we wake it up before the Council can decide to bury it forever." The surface of Erebus 9 was a wasteland of ice and silence. Their boots crunched through the frozen crust as they made their way toward the coordinates Arya had identified. The wind howled around them, carrying particles of ice that scraped against their visors like tiny claws. After an hour of trekking, they reached a massive crevasse in the ice, a gaping wound nearly 50 meters across and descending into darkness. "The signal's coming from down there," Arya said, checking her scanner. "About 2 kilometers straight down." Briggs peered over the edge. "That's a long way to fall." "We're not falling," Nathan replied, unslinging the equipment pack from his back. "We're climbing." Using ice anchors and energy tethers, they began their descent into the crevasse. The walls of ice around them glowed with an eerie blue light, illuminated by their suit lamps. As they descended, the temperature dropped even further, and the ice became harder, more crystalline. "This isn't natural," Arya observed, scanning the wall beside her. "These ice formations, they're too regular, too precise. Something generated them." 1,000 meters down, they discovered the first body. It was frozen solid, preserved in the ice like an ancient fossil. The pressure suit it wore bore the insignia of Obsidian Dawn. Carter, Briggs identified the frozen figure. He was their navigation officer. They found 2 more bodies as they continued their descent. All wore the same expression of terror, their faces contorted in their final moments. Whatever had killed them had done so quickly. "Look at their bones," Arya whispered, her scanner revealing what their eyes could not see through the suits. They're completely clean, like something dissolved everything but the skeleton." Nathan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. "Stay alert. Whatever did this might still be down here." As they reached the bottom of the crevasse, their suit lamps revealed a vast cavern of ice. And embedded within it, barely visible beneath a thick layer of frost, was a massive metal structure. "My God," Briggs breathed, his voice filled with awe. "It's real." Before them stood a section of hull plating that stretched beyond the reach of their lights, even partially buried. It was clear they were looking at something of immense size. The metal was dark, almost black, with no signs of corrosion despite the centuries it must have spent entombed in ice. Arya's scanner beeped urgently. "I'm picking up a biometric alert. The ship's security systems must still be active on some level." Nathan approached the hull, his gloved hand reaching out to touch the ancient metal. As his fingers made contact, a surge of energy rippled through the ice, causing it to crack and shift. "It's responding to you," Arya said, her voice hushed. "The biometric system, it recognizes you somehow." Nathan pressed his hand more firmly against the hull. "Terran DNA. The ship was programmed to recognize human genetic markers." A section of the hull suddenly illuminated, revealing an airlock that had been hidden beneath the ice. The door was partially open, jammed by centuries of ice formation. "Help me with this," Nathan ordered. And together, they used their plasma cutters to melt away the ice, blocking the entrance. As the last barrier gave way, a rush of air escaped from within, stale but breathable. The airlock led to a dark corridor that stretched into the heart of the massive vessel. "This is it," Nathan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Horizon, the legendary Sentinel-class supercarrier that once commanded the Central Galaxy." They stepped inside, their suit lamps casting long shadows down the ancient corridor. The interior was remarkably preserved, protected from the elements by the thick shield of ice. Consoles lined the walls, their displays dark and silent. The floor was covered in a fine layer of frost that crunched beneath their boots. "The power systems must be in hibernation," Briggs observed, examining a control panel. "But not dead. There's still energy flowing through these conduits." Arya's scanner continued to beep. "The AI core is active. Barely. But it's there. If we can access the main bridge, we might be able to communicate with it." Nathan nodded. "That's our priority. We need to know what Directive 77 is, and why this ship was sending out that signal, after all these years." They made their way deeper into the ship, passing through chambers and corridors that had once housed thousands of crew members. Everything was preserved in a state of eerie suspension. Personal items left on desks, tools abandoned mid-repair, as if the crew had simply vanished in an instant. "What happened to them?" Briggs wondered aloud. "There are no bodies, no signs of battle or evacuation." "Maybe they escaped," Arya suggested. "Or maybe they're still here, in cryostasis somewhere." Nathan remained silent, his mind racing with possibilities. The Horizon had disappeared during the final days of the human uprising. Some said it had been destroyed by the Galactic Council's fleet. Others claimed it had fled to the outer reaches of the galaxy, carrying the last hope of humanity with it. After navigating a maze of corridors and emergency bulkheads, they finally reached the main bridge. It was a vast chamber, designed to command not just a ship, but an entire fleet. The captain's chair stood on a raised platform in the center, surrounded by control stations and holographic projectors. "This is incredible," Arya breathed, running her gloved fingers over the ancient controls. "This technology, it's beyond anything we have now. The Galactic Council must have been terrified of it." Nathan approached the captain's chair, noting the Terran Navy insignia emblazoned on its back. He ran his hand over the armrest, feeling a connection to the past that was almost tangible. "The AI core access point should be here," he said, indicating a console near the captain's chair. "Arya, see if you can establish communication." As Arya worked on the console, Briggs moved to the main view screen controls. "If I can get this operational, we might be able to see what's happening outside. The Council ships must have detected our entry by now." Nathan nodded, his attention fixed on the captain's chair. Something about it called to him, a pull he couldn't explain. He sat down, and immediately, the console before him flickered to life. "It's responding to you again," Arya said, looking up from her work. "The biometric scanners must be recognizing your Terran ancestry." A holographic interface appeared before Nathan, displaying a series of command codes. One stood out, Terra 77 Prime. "That's it," he whispered. "Directive 77. Without hesitation, he spoke the code aloud. Terra 77 Prime. The bridge exploded with light as dormant systems suddenly powered up. Consoles flickered to life. Holographic displays materialized, and a deep hum resonated throughout the ship as ancient engines began to awaken. "What have you done?" Briggs shouted over the growing noise. Before Nathan could respond, a holographic figure appeared before the captain's chair, a woman in a Terran Navy uniform, her features translucent and flickering. "Biometric identification confirmed," the AI announced, its voice echoing through the bridge. "Terran DNA sequence recognized. Initializing Directive 77. Humanity Preservation Protocol." "Humanity Preservation Protocol?" Arya repeated. "What does that mean?" The AI turned to face her. Directive 77 was enacted during the final phase of the human uprising. The Horizon was tasked with preserving essential Terran technology, cultural artifacts, and genetic samples to ensure the survival of humanity in the event of extinction-level conflict. Nathan leaned forward. "And what happened? Why was the ship buried here?" After the fall of the Terran command, the Horizon initiated emergency protocols. To prevent capture by hostile forces, the ship's previous commander ordered a strategic retreat to this location. Cryogenic systems were deployed to create an ice shield that would conceal the ship's energy signature. "And the crew?" Briggs asked. The AI's expression remained neutral. The surviving crew members were evacuated via emergency shuttles to designated fallback colonies. Some elected to remain in cryostasis aboard specialized escape pods. Their current status is unknown. A violent tremor suddenly shook the bridge, causing ice to rain down from the ceiling. "What was that?" Nathan demanded. Briggs had managed to activate the main view screen. It showed the ice above them beginning to crack and shift. "Energy weapons," he reported grimly. "The Council ships are firing on the ice field. They're trying to break through to us." Another tremor, stronger than the first, rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across the bridge consoles. "Hull integrity at risk," the AI reported. "Ice shield compromising, detecting multiple hostile vessels in orbit. Defensive systems initiating." Nathan stood from the captain's chair. "No, don't engage them yet. We need to understand what we're dealing with first." But it was too late. Throughout the massive ship, ancient weapon systems were coming online, breaking through their icy prison as they prepared to defend against perceived threats. "Colonel," Arya called out, her voice urgent. "We're receiving a transmission from orbit. It's the Galactic Council vessel Vigilant." A stern-faced admiral appeared on the view screen. "Unidentified vessel," she began, her voice cold with authority. "This is Admiral Jana Harrow of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. You have accessed restricted pre-unification technology in violation of Council Directive 15. Power down all systems immediately and prepare to be boarded." Nathan stepped forward. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Nathan Locke of the independent salvage vessel Grit and Ashes. We are conducting a legitimate archaeological survey of this site. We have claimed this find under frontier salvage rights." Admiral Harrow's expression hardened. "That vessel is classified as a Class 1 prohibited weapon system. It represents a direct threat to galactic stability. You will stand down immediately, or we will be forced to take more decisive action." As if to emphasize her point, another barrage of energy weapons struck the ice above them, sending shockwaves through the ancient supercarrier. "They're not going to negotiate," Briggs warned. "The Council has been trying to erase every trace of Terran military power for decades. They'll destroy this ship rather than let it fall into our hands." Nathan knew he was right. The Galactic Council had spent 50 years systematically removing humanity from the galaxy's power structure, relegating them to the status of second-class citizens. The horizon represented everything they feared, a reminder that humans had once been equals, even leaders, in the galactic community. "Aria," Nathan said, turning to the science officer. "How operational is this ship? Can it defend itself? Can it fly?" Aria consulted the ship's diagnostics. "Power systems are at 62% capacity, and rising. Weapon systems are operational, but untested after centuries of dormancy. Propulsion systems. They're actually in remarkably good condition. The ice preserved everything better than we could have hoped." Another impact shook the ship, more violent than before. "They're bringing in heavier weapons," Briggs reported. "Council cruisers joining the Vigilant. And I'm detecting other ships as well. The Shalon mercenaries and the Eru heliosphere forces are moving in. Everyone wants a piece of this find." Nathan returned to the captain's chair. His decision made. "AI, what is your operational designation?" The holographic woman stood straighter. "I am Athena, Advanced Tactical Holographic Entity for Naval Applications. Primary interface for the TSS Horizon." "Athena, I am assuming temporary command of this vessel under emergency protocols. Initiate defensive measures but do not fire unless fired upon. Prepare for emergency ascent." "Acknowledged. Acting Captain Locke." The AI responded. "However, I must inform you that full command functions require blood code authentication." Nathan frowned. "Blood code? A genetic verification process established to prevent unauthorized access to critical ship functions. A direct DNA sample is required." Without hesitation, Nathan removed his glove and pressed his palm against a scanner that had appeared on the arm of the captain's chair. A small needle extended, pricking his skin and drawing a drop of blood. "DNA analysis in progress," Athena announced. "Comparing with authorized command profiles." 10 seconds passed as the ship continued to shake under the assault from above. "Partial match detected," Athena finally reported. "Genetic markers consistent with Commander Thomas Locke, former executive officer of the Horizon. Familial relationship confirmed. Command access granted at Level 2 authorization." Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. Thomas Locke, his great-grandfather, whom he knew only from old family stories. The man who had supposedly died during the final battle of the human uprising. "He was here," Nathan whispered. "On this ship." "We can explore family history later," Briggs urged. "Right now, we need to get this ship moving or we'll be buried in this ice forever." Nathan nodded, pushing aside the shock of discovery. "Athena, initiate emergency ascent protocols. Break us out of this ice." "Initiating ascent," the AI confirmed. "All personnel should secure positions. This will not be a smooth departure." Throughout the massive vessel, dormant engines roared to life. Energy surged through systems that had lain dormant for centuries. The ice surrounding the ship began to crack and melt as the horizon's external temperature rose dramatically. On the bridge, Nathan, Aria, and Briggs strapped themselves into command chairs as the ship trembled with awakening power. "Council ships are targeting our position with maximum firepower," Briggs reported. They're trying to destroy us before we can break free. Shields at 85% capacity, Athena reported, calculating optimal ascent trajectory to minimize structural damage. The view screen showed the ice above them fracturing, huge fissures spreading across the surface of Erebus 9. The Council ships in orbit continued their bombardment, their weapons creating geysers of ice and steam where they struck. Ascent commencing in 3, 2, 1. The horizon surged upward with incredible force, shattering the 2-kilometer-thick ice shield that had concealed it for so long. Ancient thrusters, powered by technology that predated the Galactic Union, pushed the massive supercarrier toward the surface with unstoppable momentum. As they burst through the final layer of ice, the true scale of the horizon was revealed for the first time in centuries. It was immense, nearly 5 kilometers long, with a sleek, predatory design that spoke of both power and grace. Its black hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it, making it seem like a void against the white backdrop of Erebus 9. In orbit, the Council ships reacted immediately, adjusting their weapons to target the emerging supercarrier. The Vigilant, a massive enforcement vessel in its own right, seemed small in comparison to the awakened giant. "We're being targeted by multiple weapon systems," Athena reported calmly. "Incoming fire detected." "Evasive maneuvers," Nathan ordered. "Raise shields to maximum. Remember, defensive measures only. Do not fire unless directly attacked." The horizon moved with surprising agility for its size, banking away from the first volley of energy weapons. A few shots connected, dissipating harmlessly against the ancient but powerful shields. "Those shields," Arya marveled, watching the energy readings. "They're absorbing the weapons fire and converting it to usable power. That's technology we thought was theoretical." Admiral Harrow's face appeared on the view screen again, her expression a mask of fury. "Stand down immediately. You are in command of a prohibited weapon of mass destruction." Nathan leaned forward in the captain's chair. "This ship is a piece of human heritage, Admiral. It belongs to its people. We have no hostile intentions. We're simply preserving our history." "Your history was written by the victors," Harrow spat. "And the victors determined that humanity was too dangerous to be trusted with this level of technology." She turned to someone off-screen. "Execute Chaos Overdrive. Target their propulsion systems." The transmission cut off, and immediately the Council fleet shifted formation. The Vigilant moved to a central position, while 6 heavy cruisers spread out to surround the horizon. "They're coordinating a multi-vector attack," Briggs warned, "trying to overwhelm our shields from different angles." Nathan's mind raced. They were outgunned and outmanned, with only the 3 of them to operate a ship designed for a crew of thousands. Their only advantage was the advanced technology of the horizon itself. "Athena, can you manage automated defense systems?" "Affirmative, Acting Captain. However, offensive capabilities require Level 1 authorization." "Let's hope we don't need them," Nathan muttered. "Briggs, contact our ship. Tell the rest of the G&A crew to get to the emergency shuttles and prepare to board the horizon. We're going to need every hand we can get." As Briggs relayed the orders, the Council fleet opened fire. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes converged on the horizon from all directions, striking the shields with concussive force that reverberated throughout the ship. "Shields holding at 72%, Athena reported. "Minor damage to outer hull sections. Regenerative systems responding." On the view screen, they could see their small salvage vessel detaching from the ice below, making its way toward the horizon's shuttle bay. But they weren't alone. Other ships were approaching as well, including the sleek, predatory vessels of the Shalon mercenaries. "We've got company," Arya warned. "The scavengers are moving in. They want to claim parts of the horizon for themselves." A new transmission came through, audio only. "Horizon vessel. This is Commander Vex of the Shalon Acquisition Fleet. We propose a mutually beneficial arrangement. Allow us to secure certain technological components, and we will assist in your defense against the Council forces. Don't trust them, Briggs warned. The Shalon would strip this ship for parts and sell them to the highest bidder. Another impact rocked the ship as a concentrated beam from the Vigilant struck a weaker section of the shields. Shields at 65% and declining, Athena reported. Council forces are adapting their attack pattern to exploit shield harmonics. Nathan gripped the arms of the captain's chair. They were running out of options. Without offensive capabilities, they could only evade for so long before the shields failed. Athena, what would be required for Level 1 authorization? Level 1 authorization requires direct command lineage or emergency protocols enacted by a majority of senior officers. Nathan's jaw tightened. And since all the senior officers are long gone, a new alert sounded on the tactical display. Additional vessels approaching, Athena announced. Configuration matches Terran military design, modified with Council technology. On screen, Nathan ordered. The view screen shifted to show a squadron of smaller vessels approaching from the direction of the Vigilant. Their design was unmistakably Terran, but they bore the markings of the Galactic Council. Cryo-Fang Vanguard. Briggs identified them, his voice hollow. Former Terran Navy ships and crews, repurposed by the Council after the uprising. They're using our own people against us. Nathan felt a surge of anger. After the human uprising failed, the Council had offered some Terran military personnel a choice: join the Council forces or face imprisonment. Those who chose service were often used in operations against other humans, a cruel psychological tactic designed to break the spirit of resistance. Open a channel to the Cryo-Fang squadron, Nathan ordered. Channel open, Athena confirmed. Nathan stood from the captain's chair, facing the view screen. This is Lieutenant Colonel Nathan Locke, aboard the TSS Horizon. I'm speaking to the Terran personnel of the Cryo-Fang Vanguard. You're being used against your own people. The Horizon is not a threat. It's a piece of our shared heritage, proof that humanity once stood as equals in this galaxy. For a long moment, there was no response. Then a face appeared on the screen, a man with hard eyes and a scar running down one side of his face. This is Captain Gareth Voss of the Cryo-Fang Vanguard. Stand down your vessel, Locke. The old days are gone. Humanity lost. Accept it like the rest of us had to. Nathan recognized the man. They had served together before the sectors were cut off, before Voss had been captured by Council forces. Gareth, listen to me. The Horizon contains technology and history that could change everything for our people. The Council wants to destroy it because they're afraid of what it represents. A time when humans weren't subjugated, when we had a voice in galactic affairs. Voss's expression remained impassive. We have our orders. Locke. The Council has declared the Horizon a threat to galactic stability. And you believe that? After everything they've done to our people? A subtle shift crossed Voss's face, a flicker of doubt. Before he could respond, Admiral Harrow cut into the transmission. Captain Voss, you will cease this unauthorized communication and execute your orders immediately. Target the Horizon's bridge and fire. Voss's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Yes, Admiral. Targeting systems locked. The transmission cut off, and Nathan returned to the captain's chair, his expression grim. They're going to fire, Briggs warned. The Cryo-Fang ships are moving into attack position. Another massive impact shook the Horizon as the Council cruisers continued their assault. Warning lights flashed across the bridge consoles. Shields at 43%, Athena reported. Critical failure imminent in sections 17 through 22. Nathan made his decision. Athena, execute emergency protocol override. Transfer all command functions to my authority. Override requires verification of existential threat to human survival. The AI responded. Please state the nature of the threat. Nathan's voice was steady as he replied. The Galactic Council is attempting to destroy the last major artifact of human military achievement. If they succeed, they will continue their systematic erasure of human history and influence from the galaxy. Our cultural identity and independence are at stake. Athena was silent for a moment, processing his words. Then, the holographic figure nodded. Override accepted. Transferring all command functions to Acting Captain Locke. Warning. Directive 77 protocols now fully active. All non-human entities will be categorized as potential threats until manually cleared by command authority. Nathan felt the ship respond to his thoughts almost before he could articulate them. The neural interface in the captain's chair linked with his consciousness, giving him direct control over the Horizon systems. Target the vigilance weapons arrays only, he ordered. Minimal force, surgical precision. I don't want to destroy them if we can avoid it. The Horizon's ancient weapon systems powered up, energy flowing through conduits that had lain dormant for centuries. On the outer hull, massive particle lance emitters emerged from their housing, their tips glowing with contained power. Particle lances charged and ready, Athena confirmed. Targeting vigilant weapons arrays. Fire, Nathan commanded. The Horizon released a single, concentrated beam of energy that struck the Vigilant with pinpoint accuracy. The Council flagship's main weapon array exploded in a shower of debris and vented atmosphere. Direct hit, Briggs reported. Vigilant weapons at 30% capacity. On the tactical display, the Cryofang squadron suddenly changed course, breaking formation and scattering in different directions. They're not following orders, Arya observed. Captain Voss must have... Her words were cut off as a new transmission came through. Horizon. This is Captain Voss. That was... persuasive. A grim smile crossed his scarred face. The Council has been using us against our own kind for too long. My squadron is standing down. We won't fire on a Terran vessel. Before Nathan could respond, Admiral Harrow's voice cut through the channel. Captain Voss, you are committing treason against the Galactic Council. All Cryofang units. This is a direct order. Destroy that traitor, and then target the Horizon with all available weapons. To Nathan's surprise, none of the Cryofang ships moved to attack Voss's vessel. Instead, several of them turned their weapons toward the Council cruisers. Looks like your friend isn't the only one with doubts about his allegiance, Briggs observed. Nathan allowed himself a moment of hope. Voss, get your ships clear. This is about to get messy. We're not running, Locke, Voss replied. It's time the Council learned that humans aren't as broken as they thought. The Cryofang squadron, now openly in rebellion, opened fire on the nearest Council cruiser, catching it by surprise. The vessel's shields flickered under the unexpected assault. Seeing their former allies turn against them, the Council fleet's coordinated attack pattern broke down. Ships scattered, trying to deal with threats from multiple directions. Now's our chance, Nathan decided. Athena, target all Council weapon systems. Disable but do not destroy unless necessary. Targeting systems engaged, the AI confirmed, calculating optimal firing solution. The Horizon unleashed its full defensive capabilities. Particle lances lashed out with surgical precision, disabling weapons arrays and propulsion systems on the Council vessels. Point defense systems intercepted incoming torpedoes, creating a spectacular light show against the backdrop of space. In the chaos, several of the Shalon mercenary ships attempted to approach the Horizon's hull, likely hoping to attach boarding craft. Shalon vessels approaching port and starboard docking areas, Athena warned. Repel them with shield pulses, Nathan ordered. No lethal force unless they breach the hull. The Horizon's shields flared, sending out concentrated energy pulses that pushed the approaching mercenary ships away, like insects swatted by an invisible hand. On the main view screen, the battle unfolded with brutal efficiency. The Council fleet, caught between the Horizon's superior firepower and the unexpected rebellion of the Cryofang squadron, began to falter. Admiral Harrow is ordering a retreat, Arya reported, monitoring the Council communications. The cruisers are pulling back to regroup. Only the Vigilant remained, its damaged weapons still firing sporadically at the Horizon. Admiral Harrow's face appeared on the view screen, her composure finally breaking. "This isn't over, Locke," she snarled. "That ship is a relic of a failed regime. Humanity had its chance to lead, and you proved yourselves unworthy. The Council will never allow you to threaten galactic stability again." Nathan leaned forward. "This isn't about threatening anyone, Admiral. It's about reclaiming our place as equals. The Horizon isn't a weapon of war. It's a reminder that humans were once respected members of the galactic community. We're not asking for dominance. We're asking for dignity." Harrow's expression hardened. Fine words from someone sitting at the controls of the most powerful warship in the sector. "The Council will respond to this act of aggression with all available force. Enjoy your victory while it lasts." The transmission cut off, and the Vigilant began to withdraw, limping away with multiple systems damaged. As the Council fleet retreated, Captain Voss's vessel approached the horizon. "Permission to come aboard," Voss requested. "I think we have a lot to discuss." Nathan nodded. "Granted. Bring your senior officers. We're making history today. Gareth." As the adrenaline of battle faded, the full implications of what they had done began to sink in. They had defied the Galactic Council, awakened a legendary supercarrier, and sparked what could become a full-scale rebellion among Terran personnel serving in Council forces. "You realize what this means," Briggs said quietly. "The Council won't stop until they've destroyed the Horizon. They can't afford to let it exist." "Let them try," Nathan replied, feeling the power of the ancient vessel humming around him. "For too long, humanity has been forced to the margins. Our history erased, our achievements forgotten. It's time to remind the galaxy who we are." Arya approached, her expression troubled. "Colonel, there's something you should see. I've been analyzing the ship's database, and I found something about Directive 77. She activated a holographic display, showing a series of command protocols. The Humanity Preservation Protocol isn't just about preserving technology and cultural artifacts. It's a last resort measure enacted during the final days of the human uprising. If the commanding officer determines that humanity faces extinction, the protocol authorizes extreme measures to ensure survival." Nathan frowned. "What kind of extreme measures?" "The Horizon was designed to be more than just a supercarrier," Arya explained. "It's a preservation vessel, carrying the seeds of human civilization, genetic samples, cultural records, technological blueprints. But it's also equipped with weapons capable of, well, of destroying any force that threatens human existence." "You're saying it was built as a doomsday weapon?" Arya shook her head. "Not exactly. More like an insurance policy. If humanity faced annihilation, the Horizon could ensure that something of our species survived and had the means to protect itself." Nathan considered this revelation. The power they now controlled was even greater than he had imagined, and more dangerous. "We need to be careful with this," he decided. "The Horizon is a symbol of hope for our people, but we can't let it become a tool of vengeance. That would only prove the Council right about us." As Voss and his officers arrived on the bridge, Nathan made a decision that would alter the course of human history in the galaxy. "Athena, transmit visual confirmation of the Horizon's activation on all frequencies. Let every human colony and outpost know that we're here, that we've reclaimed a piece of our heritage." "Are you sure that's wise?" Briggs asked. "It will make us a target for every Council force in the sector. It will also give hope to every human who's been living under Council rule," Nathan countered. "Sometimes, hope is more powerful than any weapon." As the transmission went out, showing the majestic silhouette of the Horizon against the stars, responses began to flood in from across the frontier worlds. Messages of support, of amazement, of renewed determination. Nathan watched the messages stream in, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. For 50 years, humanity had been retreating, accepting their diminished status in the galaxy. Today, that ended. The Horizon set course for Nova Terra, one of the old Terran colonies that had maintained some measure of independence. As they approached, they were met not by defensive weapons, but by crowds of people gathering to witness the legendary vessel's arrival. Standing on the observation deck, Nathan watched as small ships circled the horizon, their pilots transmitting messages of welcome and awe. "They're calling it a monument of rebirth," Arya said, joining him at the viewport. "Word is spreading across every human settlement. People are organizing, forming councils, demanding representation in galactic affairs." "And the council?" Nathan asked. "They've called for an emergency summit on Toberon, 3 weeks from now. They're framing it as a security crisis. But some of the member races are already questioning whether humans have been treated fairly all these years." Nathan nodded, his gaze fixed on the planet below. "Then we'll be there, as representatives of a humanity that refuses to be forgotten." As preparations began for the Toberon summit, Nathan spent hours in the Horizon's vast database, learning about the ship's history, its capabilities, and the events that had led to its concealment on Erebus 9. The more he learned, the more he understood the true significance of what they had discovered. In his private quarters, converted from a senior officer's cabin, Nathan reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Galactic Council was mobilizing its forces, but they were meeting unexpected resistance. Several frontier worlds had declared their independence, forming a united front. Even some of the inner planets with significant human populations were experiencing unrest, with calls for a core council to challenge the Galactic Council's authority. A chime announced Arya's arrival. She entered carrying a datapad, her expression serious. "I've found something," she said without preamble. "Evidence that the Galactic Council made a deal with the Xeron Confederacy during the human uprising." Nathan's eyes narrowed. "The Xeron? They were supposed to be our allies." "Apparently they switched sides at a critical moment. The Council offered them exclusive mining rights in 3 sectors in exchange for intelligence on Terran fleet movements." She handed him the datapad. "This explains why the final offensive failed so catastrophically. We were betrayed from within." Nathan reviewed the information, feeling a cold anger building within him. The official history claimed that humanity had simply been outmatched, that their rebellion had been doomed from the start. But the truth was far more insidious. "Does anyone else know about this?" Arya shook her head. "Not yet. I wanted you to see it first." Nathan considered the implications. This information could inflame human sentiment against the Council even further, potentially pushing the situation toward full-scale war. But it could also be used as leverage at the upcoming summit, forcing the Council to acknowledge their duplicity. "We'll hold on to this for now," he decided. "Use it when it will do the most good. Our goal isn't revenge, it's restoration." As the day of the Toberon summit approached, the Horizon took up position in orbit around Nova Terra, becoming a beacon for humans across the frontier worlds. Ships arrived daily, carrying representatives from colonies and outposts eager to join what was being called the Human Renaissance. Captain Voss and his Cryofang squadron had officially declared their independence from the Council, joining the growing fleet of vessels rallying around the Horizon. Other Terran officers serving in Council forces were defecting, bringing valuable intelligence and resources with them. The night before, they were scheduled to depart for Toberon. Nathan stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars through the main view screen. Athena's holographic form appeared beside him. "You seem troubled, acting captain." Nathan smiled faintly. "Just contemplating the responsibility we've taken on. The Horizon represents power that could easily be misused. That is why Directive 77 requires human judgment," Athena replied. "The ship's capabilities are merely tools. Their purpose is determined by those who wield them." Nathan nodded, though his unease remained. Throughout human history, power had a way of corrupting even the noblest intentions. "Athena, are there any other directives I should know about? Anything beyond the Humanity Preservation Protocol?" The AI was silent for a moment, as if considering her response. There is one additional protocol that has not yet been activated. Directive 88, Terran Restoration Initiative. And what does that entail? That information requires Level 1 plus authorization, which has not yet been granted. Nathan frowned. I thought I had full command authority. You have operational command authority. Certain historical and strategic information remains restricted to those with direct lineage to the original command structure. Before Nathan could press further, an alert sounded. Briggs rushed onto the bridge, his expression urgent. Council forces are mobilizing. A fleet twice the size of what we faced at Erebus 9 is assembling near Toberon. They're not planning for negotiations. They're preparing for war. Nathan's jaw tightened. Then we'd better be ready. Alert all Allied vessels. We depart for Toberon in 6 hours. As the Horizon and its growing fleet of Allied ships prepared for departure, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading toward a confrontation that would determine the future of humanity in the galaxy. The Council was clearly unwilling to accept the reemergence of human power, and they had the resources to back up their opposition. But for the first time in 50 years, humanity was united by a common purpose and emboldened by a symbol of their former greatness. The Horizon wasn't just a ship. It was a statement that humans refused to be erased from history. Standing on the bridge as the massive vessel broke orbit, Nathan remembered an old saying passed down through generations of his family. When the sentinels awaken, those who dared to sleep soundly will tremble. The galaxy was about to discover just how true those words were. In the ship's central AI core, far from the bridge and any monitoring systems, a sequence of code activated automatically. A hidden protocol, Directive 88, began to initialize, preparing for the next phase of the Horizon's mission. On a screen, visible to no one, the words appeared. Directive 88, Terran Empire Restoration. Humanity must rise again. The future that awaited wasn't just one of rebirth. It was one of ascension. And the galaxy, which had grown comfortable in humanity's absence from the corridors of power, was about to face a reckoning that would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Union.